All right, so have you ever wondered if real estate mailers are actually still working, or have you been thinking of utilizing them, or have you used them in the past without any results? Then this video is for you, because in this video I'll basically cover all those bases and see how we can actually make it more effective and some of the advantages and disadvantages of using real estate mailers. So be sure to check it till the end. We basically leave a training at the end of this video. Now my name is Sam Spijkerman and I'm the founder and CEO of Somewhere Online, and we've basically helped hundreds of real estate agents scale their real estate business through social media and various of other platforms within 90 days or less. So basically, make sure to check it all out. Now, as we all know, real estate mailers are commonly used by investors and real estate agents all day, every day. And there's a few advantages and disadvantages to it. First of all, the first advantage is actually that mailer is actually left in the house for at least 17 days, which means that the household reach is extremely high. Now, the second advantage is that if the data is right, so if you have a lot of the right addresses and you have a good source of data, which is something that you always want to make sure is correct. So you want to make sure that the addresses are correct, that the recipients' names are correct and everything else. That means that you're going to have an extremely high deliverability rate, right? Because if the address is right, that makes sure that basically happens that to be on the doormat and they're gonna see it, right? So if everything is put right together with a good deliverability rate, everything else should be put in place as well. Now the third thing is basically personalization. So with mailers, you can make it highly personalized, right? So what you can do, for example, is you can make them handwritten. You can give them some tips on their homes in your own handwriting. You can basically make it super customized to their home and their location and their neighborhood, which basically attracts more people. Typically it takes more time, but it typically yields better results. However, this can also be automated with custom fields, or if you hire like few companies that do this, they can also do this for you. However, I always recommend to basically do it in-house and to basically have someone write those if you can. For example, one of your buyer's agents or one of your assistants. Now, the last advantage that I basically had is that you can make them highly targeted, right? So what's very important is that you want to make sure that you go after a neighborhood that you have a lot of knowledge about, right? Because if the person sees and they're actually thinking about buying or selling real estate and they see that you actually have knowledge about that neighborhood and you actually did the research on their neighborhood and their home, they'll much more appreciate it and they'll be much more likely to actually contact you. And this is a thing that I see a lot of agents actually make the mistake of not doing. They simply print out a lot of the same brochures, just the same ones, no personalization, nothing whatsoever, and do it basically as simple as possible. And then they typically don't see any results, right? Or they basically have a weak offer that no one really wants to opt into, and it's not really compelling enough for the buyer or seller to reach out to them. Now, some of the disadvantages are actually costs, right? So you always want to see how much is it going to cost for a certain mailer and like the quality of the paper that you're going to use, the personalization, etc. Because that's one of the disadvantages, is that the cost can actually be extremely high. So for that reason, we always like to use like text messages and text blasts if there's an opt-in, for example, or we actually have the right to put it in such a way that we're not selling anything to the consumer, to the end user, because it's much more scalable and it's actually much more faster than doing the mailer. So if you find a way to do it cost effectively on a personalized basis, then that's what I would recommend to do. But that's one of the disadvantages, unfortunately, of mailers in 2022. Now, the second one, basically based on that, what I just mentioned, is that it can be extremely time consuming, especially if you're going to add personalization to it, right? Because you have to do research on each and every single person. It takes a lot of time to scale out. Basically, they have to be sent out to the homes as well, which also takes time. And people generally are going to take longer to respond as well, because it's going to be in your home for almost 17 days before they throw it out on average. And now basically the last one is that it requires address data. So that's a thing that's still, like, if you're buying data, for example, and you're buying these addresses, there's always a chance that there's going to be some bad addresses on there, right? So that can also be like going into your costs. So if you have a lot of bad addresses, all these mailers are going to get sent back, and it's going to cost you even more time and even more money. So that's why it's so important to have a good provider and a good lead source. If you want to know some of the lead sources that we've been using, for example, for text blast campaigns, just let us know down here in the comments down below, and we'll be happy to basically give you some tips. Now, basically, as a conclusion, I just want to mention, like, okay, how can we make these campaigns actually more effective, right? And a few ways to do it is A, make them personalized. So for example, make them handwritten. And second is make sure that you have a strong offer in place. If the offer is compelling, and this is really like something that it should actually scare you, this offer. And if it's really compelling, people will reach out to you because everyone wants to basically get on a good offer, right? So make sure it's compelling for the person to actually reach out to you. So offer incentives, right? So if I don't sell your home in XYZ days, we'll basically offer this. Or if I don't get it above ask, we'll basically offer this. Depending on the market and your situation, you always want to do research and make sure that you can actually deliver on the offer, of course. So this is basically the end of the video. I hope this video helped and basically give you some more insights on the advantages and disadvantages of mailers. They still work. However, there has to be more time and effort and money put into it to make them more personalized, which is what we've seen still works best. However, not a lot of agents have dialed that in. So if you want to learn more, check the comments down below. If you maybe want to work with us or see about how we do this, but then on a different way, basically online instead of doing it with mailers, you can book a call with me and my team basically down below, and we'll be happy to see you on one of the calls. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.